Hey everyone, Boardgame Brody here with Meeple Mountain. I was sent a prototype copy of Paris, a new game coming to Kickstarter by Game Brewer. Paris is an economic tile placement area control game for 2 to 4 players. In the 1900s, the players take the role of wealthy real estate investors in Paris. Now, Paris just hit the height of its transformation into the most beautiful cities in the world. Paris has already successfully organized the World Fair in 1889 and constructed the Eiffel Tower. It's your task now to purchase some of these great buildings in order to make a profit and invest in the development and upkeep of Paris. Let's set up the game. The board is placed out like this, and each player will place their bonus meeple and victory point disc at the start of each track. Landmark tiles are placed face up next to the board for everyone to see. Each player will take a player screen, and players all look at the base of their player screen, and whoever shows this icon indicates that they will be the start player. Each player starts the game off with 3 francs placed behind their player screen, and the remaining coins are sorted by their denomination and placed out in a general supply. Resource tokens and prestige tokens are placed on the board like this. Starting with the prestige tokens, it'll go bronze, silver, and then gold, followed by the resource tokens of wood, marble, and then gold. Depending on the number of players playing the game, each player will start with a certain number of keys. 10 in a 2-player game, 9 in a 3-player game, and 7 in a 4-player game. And these keys are placed behind each player's screen. You will then take an additional 2 keys for each player and place them next to the board. These can be gained when taking the corresponding action to do so, and the remaining keys will be returned to the box. The building tiles are shuffled and stacked into 3 piles, with 3 random tiles removed for the remaining of the game. The victory tiles are placed face up so all can see, and the in-game tiles face down near the board. Sort the bonus tiles and remove any that indicate a player count more than the current count. These are then placed out on the bonus tile tract corresponding to its number. After understanding the game, you'll be able to randomize the setup and give the game more of a variety. The game also comes with different variants. Now, when playing, your goal is to score the most victory points by purchasing buildings on the board and obtaining these bonus tiles that will give you points in different ways. The game is played over a variable number of rounds, and once someone triggers the end of the game by taking the last in-game tile, players will finish their current round, and all players will then take one final round before the in-game scoring. At this point, the player with the most victory points wins the game. Starting with the start player, turns continue clockwise where each player must perform a 2-step turn each and every time. The 2 steps are: place a building on the game board as long as they are available, and then perform an action. When placing a building, you will begin by drawing the top building tile of one of the available piles and place it on the matching building space as its building value and district as depicted on the tile. In the second step, you can then choose one of 3 different actions to perform. You can place a key on a bank or on the Arc of Triumph. You can move a key to acquire a building, or you can take an in-game tile, which is only allowed when all building tiles are on the board. Let's talk more about each of these options. When placing a key, you will take one of your keys behind your player screen and place it on the bank in one of the 6 districts or on the Arc of Triumph. When placing on each of these locations, take the indicated number of francs from the general supply indicated on that space and place them behind your player screen. You can only have 1 key on each bank and on the Arc of Triumph at any given time. You can never place a key from behind your player screen onto a building or landmark. When performing the second action, moving a key, you will be taking the key from the board and place it on an unoccupied building or landmark of a higher value in that same district and pay the associated costs. If from the bank to a building, then it will be the number shown on the building tile. If from the building to another building, then you will pay the difference between the buildings. Also, you can only move your key to an unoccupied building that is already on the game board. In addition to the buildings, you can move your keys onto a landmark. When moving to a landmark, you can move to an unoccupied landmark already on the board, or you can add an available landmark from the supply to the district that your key is in, and then move your key to it. Buildings will be added on each and every turn on the first step of a player's turn, while landmarks are added whenever a player chooses. Landmarks are placed sequentially above each other with no limits to the number of landmarks that can be built in a district, but the value always has to be higher than the previous. Make sure this space is not occupied, as you can never move a key to a building or landmark that already has a key that's yours nor another player's. If moving a key to the Arc of Triumph, you can move to any unoccupied building or landmark in any of the 6 districts. This really helps with plans, but when initially placing your key here, you won't be gaining any money. At any point when there is a total of 4 keys on buildings or landmarks in a district, not including the bank, the active player who placed the 4th key in that district will place one of the available victory point tiles on any available districts that don't have one. This tile will state the victory points awarded to the players who occupies the buildings and landmarks with the highest combined value in the district, and also the 2nd and 3rd place points as well. So the cost to move your key from the bank or the Arc of Triumph to a building is listed on the bottom right. However, if you are moving from another building or landmark, again, you will only need to pay the difference of the two. Also, if there's any resource cost, you will need to pay those as well. These costs are listed on the top right. Each 8 building will require a wood, and any landmark will require marble and or gold. If you don't have enough francs or resources required for that building or landmark, then you cannot move your key there. The 3 resources are used to build landmarks and the 8 building in each district, while prestige tokens are exchanged for victory points when you build a landmark. Resources are bought and sold at any time, and prestige can be sold at any time. Visit the table listed on your player board to see what the exchange rates are for those. Just note that resources won't be available at the beginning of the game, as they are all on the board. They will become available as the game progresses as players use them. Whenever you place these resources, place them next to the board, as they are now available for all players to purchase. Whenever prestige points are spent, they are, however, removed from the game. After paying money and any resources required, you are now considered the owner of that building or landmark, and you will have your key placed there. Remember, whenever you acquire a building, you can take the resource or prestige tile next to it, if still present, and place it behind your player screen. Whenever acquiring a building of a level 1 or a 2, you may take a bonus tile starting at the location that you are currently at to any tile clockwise. You may also do the same with a level 3 building if you pay 2 francs. When moving the bonus Meeple tile, you'll be moving it forward as many spaces as you wish clockwise. Place the newly acquired tile and place it behind your player screen. Multiple bonus Meeples can occupy the same space as long as there are tiles available in that location. Also know that you can only move your bonus Meeple forward, so if you pass some tiles, you will be unable to collect them, and once you get to space number 30, you will be unable to collect any more. You can activate your bonus tile at any time on your turn. You can do it immediately when receiving it, or later on in the game. Once you use it, you will take the advantage and discard the tile. You can never own 2 bonus tiles of the exact same type. The last action that you can do is you can take an in-game tile. You can only do this action when the building tiles are exhausted. You'll be looking through the in-game tiles and you will take one of your choice, returning the remaining tiles face down so that other players don't know what tile you took and what else is remaining. If the tile shows resources, then you won't take these from the supply, but the tile itself counts for the depicted items. The game end is triggered when the last in-game tile is taken. Finish the current round, and then all players play one final round trying to use all their tiles before the game ends. In-game scoring is then done. The player who has the number 27 bonus tile scores 1 victory point for each franc that they own. Players will score additional victory points for each district that they are either first, second, or third of value according to the victory point tile. So players will count up the value of all buildings and landmarks with their keys on it. In each district, the player with the highest, second highest, and third highest receive the stated points shown on the victory point tile in that district. Ties are broken with the player who has the highest value of one single building or landmark in that district. In a two-player game, these points are awarded a little bit different, and to score the second highest value for a district, the player needs to have at least half of the total value of the first player, or they will score 0 points. Once all players have tallied up the victory points for each district, the player with the most points is the winner. If there is a tie, whoever has the most francs is then declared the winner. Holy cow, this game is better than I previously anticipated. I mean, I knew it would be good, but this game is great. It's really easy to explain what you do each turn. You never are confused as to what action that you need to take or how to do something in the game. You are more stuck on trying to figure out what is the best move for you to take, knowing exactly how that you can do it. So players could have some analysis paralysis in this game, which usually means it's a good, brainy, crunchy, thinky, puzzly game. The one thing I felt like the game does for me that others might not is when I played this game, I really couldn't even form a beginning plan because there just isn't enough information to know what to make and what to do. But as you play the game and take actions, you start to make plans for possible moves. And then when more tiles and buildings and changes are done, you change and progress with the game. You can't really look at the board and say, okay, all right, I'm going to try to win this district here, and over there I will just let it go to the other players because that district is only given 2 francs when placing a key there, so it's not really worth it for me. I just hope the high victory point tile doesn't get on that one. And really, you don't know what buildings will come out and what time it will, so you can only build a building that has been placed out on the board. At the beginning of the game, it almost seems like you place a building and then you plan to take that building by placing your key in that district's bank. But since it takes 2 actions to move a key to a building, eventually within a couple rounds, the game opens up more, as players will have placed buildings but without intentions of claiming them, leaving you with more and more options. I really like the progression of the game from the beginning to the end, and after placing all the buildings, you still have time to upgrade buildings and collect the remaining resources or prestige that's out there. Eventually, players will run out of keys or will run out of resources or money, and they will start claiming the in-game tiles to be more efficient into whatever they're trying to do at the end of the game. They might want to claim buildings and have the highest value of buildings in a certain district so that they can score more points in that district at the end of the game. Oh, and I also love how you can choose the in-game tile that you want, claiming the one that is more beneficial for you. Do you start claiming these early to get what you want, or do you focus on your actions on the board, waiting to see what is left over? The board is just beautiful, and it looks like the components are going to be great as well. Well, they're great in this prototype, so I expect them to be great in the final product as well. This game is also great for players who don't like direct player confrontation, and you're not purposely going out and hurting other players in the game, but you're more just trying to do better than everyone else. The game's length is pretty nice depending on the number of players as well, but after knowing how to play the game, it would be just over an hour to play. This is a medium weight game with low availability of action selection, but the variance or decision space within those actions are high. What I mean by that is the depth is not found in what you can do, but how you do it. While there are only 2 possible actions, the game is found on how you achieve them. If you are looking for a gameplay video for this game, I'd recommend Paul's video at Gaming Rules. I will post a link below. The game really shows how some turns can be really short and simple, where others can be more complex by using your tiles to gain extra actions and then in return gaining more tiles to use for the future. So go check out his gameplay video. Build up Paris by investing in the different districts and helping build landmarks in Paris by Game Brewer. Again, this is Boardgame Brody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.